Up next is Emilio Joubert. Emilio is a senior in the college, majoring in Italian from the beautiful cities of Haverhill and Lawrence, Massachusetts. After graduation, he will be working for Instagram's partnerships team in Venice Beach, California. Please welcome Emilio.
All right, before I start, just a quick point of contingency. Is 5:45 in the afternoon or is it evening? Just shout it out. It's evening? Okay, great. That's going to change a part of my speech then. Thanks. It was a crisp March evening. My abuela and I were carrying in a set of groceries after a long day of school and shopping. Her red curls bounced around as she juggled for keys while I carried what felt like 100 pounds of food that was probably going to disappear in just about a week. Eres un chico fuerte. Tú tienes que llevar todo, is probably what she said to me. Now, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, I assume that there are some who speak Spanish, the cultural translation of this is essentially, why on earth would you make your grandma carry any groceries? Carry all of them, please. But what she doesn't know during this time was that as my arms were filling with lactic acid, I was bursting with excitement. It was rolling around the time that my letter from Georgetown University was to come in, and I had a good feeling about today. And she turned the key in a manner that at the moment felt so slow to me. I watched the clockwise motion spin as all I could think about was the potentiality of the letter in our mailbox. And with the expertise of a grandmother who had opened that same exact door thousands of times, she finally opened the door. I burst through, throwing everything we had purchased, potentially bursting a set of eggs, but I didn't care because I just knew the big news was on the way. I rushed to the mailbox, and I found two small letters, a bill, of course, that we had to pay, and a small, curious envelope from Georgetown University. And as I set that envelope on the table, I felt the color drain from my face. I had heard about the small envelopes from colleges. I thought I faced rejection. I suddenly felt small. I remembered when I was the boy who had to work 40 hours over the summer to keep my family afloat when I was just 15 years old. Or how helpless I felt as I watched my mom sink further and further into cancer. I thought of the times where I felt absolutely powerless. Georgetown was my dream. It was everything that I wanted, and it was everything that I needed. The promise of a full scholarship, a collection of some of the brightest, most talented students gathering together. It felt like some kind of fantasy to me. And with this small letter, and the rejection that was probably packed inside, that was all bound to remain just a dream. But I told my abuela none of this feeling. To her, a letter from Georgetown was heaven sent. And I carried those groceries because her back was tired from the amount of time she had carried me when I was feeling down. And I couldn't let her down again. I didn't open the letter for a moment because I had to steel myself for the news. I opened the letter. I began to read it out loud to her, taking a moment to see the glint of pride in her eyes. But perhaps behind that glint hid a shadow of worry. I'm sure a part of her was worried that life would not be kind to me, as it hadn't been for many years prior to this. Dear Mr. Joubert, it gives me great pleasure to inform you that the Committee on Admissions has voted to accept your application for admission to Georgetown University. I am happy to offer you a place in the first year fall of 2015. I must have read it over twice before I fully understood the message because the wording is kind of weird, but we both cried. I couldn't believe it. I sometimes still don't. Odds are, many of you in this audience still cannot fully believe that you're sitting in these seats, admitted members of the Georgetown community. And if you choose to come here, I want to let you know that you're going to be surrounded by students with stories like my own, but also by individuals who come from a place as opposite of my own as possible. And this is the beauty of Georgetown. I do not know where you were when you received your letter of admission. I can't imagine who you were surrounded by. Some of you were surrounded by your closest loved ones, others by your friends, and some of you read it by yourselves. And if you did this, I admire the struggle and the perseverance that you had to go through in order to get to this point. I admire those of you who had to translate Dean of Admission Deacon's words into Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, or Vietnamese for your parents to understand what the content of the letter was. And I admire those of you who applied when citizenship was difficult. The Indocuhoyas are one of the greatest parts of the Georgetown community. If you choose to come here, know that you're making an investment in yourself. You're going to be challenged by the people you sit in class with. You will feel uncomfortable at times, and you'll find yourselves asking the same question that I have asked myself many times. Do I belong here? The answer to the question, let me end it for you quickly, is very simple. Yes, you do belong here. You belong to be here just as much as I do, if not more, because I look out into this crowd and I see limitless potential. I think of all the things that you're going to do to surpass me during your times here. And in honesty, I'm quite envious of the fact that I'm not going to be able to see it, because I'm old now. I'm a senior. My time at Georgetown is nearly over, and I'm taking the next step of my life. I'm entering the professional world with a set of hopes and dreams that are very much the same, but are evolved from the man who I once was when I started. During my time here, I've learned so much. At my high school, I'm sure some of you understand, I didn't have access to AP classes, Notre Dame, Cristo Rey, that was my high school, by the way. AP Chemistry, US World History, English, and this is the sad reality of attending a school that's underfunded. But that being said, my schoolwork, my coursework in classes here has been transformative. Taking Struggle and Transcendence with Father Kemp, history classes such as Louis XIV in France, and learning how to conduct myself in a language that I couldn't speak prior to coming here in business Italian was very intellectually enriching for me, because our education is truly world class. But I've learned the most from the experiences that I've had here. Mentoring previously incarcerated students in the Georgetown Ask program and assisting them as they transition from incarceration to college has been deeply moving for me. Traveling to cities such as San Francisco or Seattle in order to learn more about business in the area with the Baker Scholars are treasured experiences. And developing my own identity as a Latin American man in the United States through programs such as YLEAD has made me a better person. And I've done so much here. I've fallen in love with myself, with my partner, with my best friends. And I have a group of people who are so close to me that the line between brother, sister, friend, and family have all blurred into one concept. And if I had to use one word to characterize my experience here, it wouldn't be intellectual, which it is, difficult, which it also is, or amazing, which it certainly is. It would be loving. The people who I've become close to here have seen me through some of the hardest moments of my life. They have seen me through family difficulties, insecurity about the future, and housing. They have also seen my greatest victories. They saw me cry when I received my offer letter from Instagram, when I gave my TEDx speech, or the time I spoke at Convocation, or even the first time I received a 4.0 GPA here, despite the amount of setbacks that I had from my youth. Here, you're going to make a family unlike anyone that you've ever seen before. And you're going to realize that the people that you're sitting next to are a part of you, just as you are a part of them. Love describes the Georgetown experience better than any other word. Love for the self, for another, for your passions, and your academics. The community here is full of that love, and that passion is infectious. Speak to somebody about their aspirations. It's easy to feel like you can achieve the world here. Everybody believes that it's possible, and there's no reason why you all shouldn't as well. But this is not about me. This is about you all, and the wonderful things that you're going to be doing in my place at this wonderful institution. I want you all to know that as you decide on the school that you're going to be attending, you're creating your own legacy. Truthfully, There are a number of schools that will allow you to do incredible things. But I know that for myself, for my grandmother, who in many ways is still opening the door, turning the key while I move far away, hope in her eyes, but a touch of worry and sadness, for my mother who passed away from that cancer 6 years ago, and my brother who I work hard to inspire every day. I know that Georgetown was and always will be the school that I was meant to attend. I wouldn't have it any other way, and I'll always be saying Hoya Saxo.